It's been tough. It's been emotionally exhausting.
After waiting years for a trial, the families of two murdered teens now wait by the hour for justice. I'll have more on what helps them hold on to hope.
5 children just lost their fathers. 2 women lost their spouses. It didn't need to happen.
2 brothers hit and killed while cycling, and tonight,
he was legendary.
How a tight-knit community is remembering the brothers and helping their families.
Right now, tracking another storm moving into northern Utah, when we'll see our heaviest precipitation, what the snow levels will be, and what you can expect for holiday travel.
Radioactive material from all over the world ending up here at a small mill in rural Utah. But people living on tribal land say what's happening at the uranium mill is putting them in danger.
And after unveiling this massive sculpture in a Utah neighborhood, some people say there's already a downside.
Live from Utah's news leader, Fox 13 News at 9 starts right now.
Day 2 of jury deliberations in the Jared Baum murder trial. The panel has called it a night after an entire day of discussions. Kelly?
Bob, they will be back in court tomorrow to continue conversation of whether Jared Baum is guilty for kidnapping, murdering, and then throwing the bodies of 2 teens down a mine shaft. Fox 13 News reporter Emily Tenser spoke to the victims' families who are eager for answers.
Thursday was a day of waiting, but it wasn't a day wasted.
It is nerve-wracking, I'm not gonna lie, but all we can do is sit and wait and hope for the best.
The families of murdered teens Breezy Audison and Riley Powell waited years for this trial. Now they wait day by day as the jury deliberates whether or not Jared Baum is guilty for their deaths.
It's been tough. It's been emotionally exhausting, physically exhausting, and we're ready for it to be over and move on to the next chapter.
That's Bill Powell, Riley's dad, and Amanda Davis, Breezy's aunt. Ever since the trial began back in March, they've spent every day in court hearing the gruesome details of the last moments of their loved ones' lives.
We're learning a lot more than what we knew, because they wouldn't tell us a lot.
On Wednesday, attorneys shared hours of closing arguments, hoping to sway the jury one final time.
They spoke the truth and got down to the nitty-gritty, I guess you'd say, and defense team was, to my feelings, a little wishy-washy.
Even if the families get the outcome they want, they say it'll never bring Riley and Breezy back.
They were just getting there. They were just finally finding themselves, and they were taken from us.
The family says today would have been the perfect day for a conviction. It's the 4-year anniversary of the day the family laid the 2 teens to rest. They'll be back here tomorrow for another day of hoping justice will come. Reporting in Utah County, Emily Tenser, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Fox 13 News also spoke in depth with local criminal defense attorney Jesse Nix, not involved in this case, to get his insight. He expects it could be a while for the jury to sift through all those charges and discuss the weeks of evidence and testimony.
So these 8 people who are approaching 40 days on this case, I imagine they want to get it right. But I also imagine they're pretty tired now. And I'm hoping, like jurors usually do, they take their responsibility very seriously.
Stay with Fox 13 News as we continue to watch for a verdict in this highly publicized trial. As soon as we get word of the verdict, we will pass it along to you. We're following it on air, on our social media pages, and at fox13now.com. We now know the name of the pilot who died in a crash in Heyburn, Idaho yesterday morning. 30-year-old Chelsea Brittany Infinger was from Salmon, Idaho. Police say she had taken off from Salt Lake City and crashed on approach to the airport in Burley. Her plane came down on the roof of a potato processing plant in Heyburn, just across the Snake River from the runway in Burley. Her family tells Fox 13 News the city of Heyburn approved the construction of tall industrial structures a few years ago, right near the airport approach, making landing difficult.
I guess I have concerns about the airport as well. At some point, there were many pilots that went in when they were going to approve that addition. had that tall chimney, and they said this was dangerous. This is in the direct line of this runway. So they were warned, and for some reason they still approved it. And at some point, is there an accounting for the people that approved this when it was such a dangerous addition?
Impfinger was the only person on board. The cause of the crash is under investigation.
A tragedy out of southern Utah. Tonight, we're learning more about two California brothers killed while bicycling in the Tour of St. George.
Fox 13 News reporter Jenna Bree joins us in studio tonight with a story you'll only see here. Jenna.
Bob and Kelly, as of tonight, more than $80,000 have been raised by close friends of Adam and Matthew Bullard. The two lifelong members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints had been inseparable since birth. And the Bullard brothers were local legends in the California cycling community.
Faith, family, cycling. That was kind of the hierarchy of priority.
Adam and Matthew Bullard were not just brothers. They were best friends, a pair so inseparable, friends and family lovingly referred to them as Madam and Athew.
I tried to keep up on our first century ride when Matt was first diagnosed with MS, I would say approximately 10 years ago now. That was my first century ride as well, and I did it kind of to join with Matt and Adam and give some support, but I couldn't keep up, but I made it, but they're just two incredible guys.
Adam Bullard was known in Southern California as the Hill Slayer, logging 1 million feet in elevation gain on his bike every year. Cycling in sync with his brother Matt on the Tour of St. George Sunday, officials say a reckless driver hit the brothers and they later died in the hospital.
He was a big influence in the cycling community. Everybody, there isn't a person that you can see out here on the trails that didn't know Adam, that didn't know about the legend of Adam, because he was legendary.
Biking grew into a shared passion for the two and their children.
Matt learned when he was developed with MS was that staying physically fit was going to be a big part of keeping MS at bay.
The brothers' death, a shock to their communities in California and here in Utah. The SUV driver who hit the two was arrested and booked into jail. She faces multiple felony counts, including automobile homicide and driving under the influence. Corey Spencer, a Utahn who rode with the brothers for more than 20 years, says they did everything right to stay safe.
They took every safety precaution.
Spencer, with the help of the Cyclery bike shop where Adam worked, launched a GoFundMe, creating the Adam and Matt Bullard Memorial Fund.
5 children just lost their fathers. 2 women lost their spouses. It didn't need to happen.
The SUV driver who killed the brothers says she was having a medical emergency, which caused her to lose control of the vehicle. Friends of the Bullards are hoping to raise $100,000. You can find a link to that GoFundMe on our website, fox13now.com. Reporting in studio, Jenna Bree, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Jenna, thank you so much. Fox 13 News spoke with the education and advocacy group Bike Utah after this fatal crash.
And they agreed with the Bullards' friends that they did everything right. If you'd like to learn more about how to stay safe on your bike, go to bikeutah.org.
Switching gears now to weather, and we saw calmer weather today compared to earlier this week, but right now we're tracking another cold front.
Yeah, a little more sunshine today, but don't let that fool you. Utah Weather Authority Allison Krogan joins us now with the very latest on the weather conditions. We are leading into a holiday weekend, Allison. A lot of outdoor plans, maybe.
Yes, especially by Sunday. I can promise you by Sunday afternoon, late morning, we'll have really nice weather. But for tonight, I am tracking the remnants of an atmospheric river that has been pushing a lot of moisture into California. But here across northern Utah, we have a weak cold front moving through tonight into early tomorrow. So ahead of this, lots of clouds. We've had a few areas of very light precipitation across the northern valleys up towards Brigham City. Snow could cause occasional winter driving conditions tonight, mainly for our highest mountain passes. from Salt Lake up to Wyoming. But when you wake up tomorrow morning, temperatures in the low 40s here in Salt Lake with some chances for some light rain. We're going to have those temperatures tomorrow, still a little bit below average for this time of year, but pretty comfortable. Showers will be increasing. Heaviest mountain snowfall will be midnight to 6 a.m. Snow levels around 6,000 feet, but we will have a nice Easter Sunday. I'll let you know how the rest of the travel weather is looking. The best windows for travel this weekend coming up.
We have some bills that we love.
The governor signs a series of bills to expand education programs and ensure student safety.
Mixed reactions are okay, but it's here. So learn to love it.
Some neighbors speaking out today about this massive whale statue in Salt Lake City that's making a splash.
Big news out of Dallas. The Mavericks' biggest star appears to be out for Game 1 against the Jazz. Are the Jazz saving anything for the playoffs? We'll hear from the team.
Been a hassle because I can't really get downstairs.
A Utah man shows how the kindness of others helped him in a way that is positively Utah.
Happening now, South Ogden police are looking for a missing woman. This is 18-year-old Delaney Wright. Police say she left home for a date on April 3rd and has not been seen or heard from since. Her family is concerned for her safety. She's believed to have gone to the Salt Lake area. If you have any information, please call South Ogden Police right away.
New at 9, the Emery County Sheriff's Office says this man, Jonathan Baker of Bozeman, Montana, was found dead in the San Rafael Desert in Emery County. Baker was reported missing on April 10th by his family after he didn't return to Salt Lake City from a trip down the Green River. At about 8 this morning, a Salt Lake City man noticed a story on Fox13now.com with photos and information about the search. He was able to guide deputies to where he'd spotted the truck. Baker's body was found about a half a mile away. Foul play is not suspected.
Also new at 9, a Utah man with a history of crimes related to voyeurism and sexual exploitation is being held without bail. Today, a judge decided that 27-year-old Jonathan Soberanis' case will be moved from Salt Lake County to Utah County. Fox 13 News has reported on Soberanis multiple times, including as recent as just last month. He has been arrested on several occasions, but charges kept getting dismissed because of a mental disability.
This comes as the FBI warns of a rise in the sextortion of young children. The FBI office here in Salt Lake City says this is the case nationwide. They have received several reports of adults posing as young girls, coercing young boys through social media to share images and videos, then extorting them for money.
The kids are here, but doesn't necessarily mean that the offenders or the target, the offenders are here as well. They're most likely overseas. Some of them are domestic.
The FBI says to stop victimization, children typically have to come forward to someone like a parent, teacher, caregiver, or law enforcement. They advise you to be selective about what you share online, especially personal information and passwords.
After 10 months in an Idaho mental health facility, Lori Vallow Daybell is now back in jail awaiting a murder trial for the deaths of her 2 children, JJ and Tylee. She was ruled competent to stand trial earlier this week. She will face a judge next Tuesday on first-degree murder charges, as well as charges relating to the death of her first husband, Charles, and Tammy Daybell, the first wife of her current husband, Chad Daybell.
Utah saw an uptick in COVID-19 cases over the past week. Today, the state reported 740 new cases, 6 more deaths, and 20 new hospitalizations over the past 7 days. 66.7% of Utahns ages 5 and older are now fully vaccinated.
Listen to this. A broken elevator at a Salt Lake City apartment complex has left a wheelchair-bound man essentially trapped inside his home.
As Fox 13 News reporter Chris Arnold shows us, he got a helping hand from his friends in a way that it is positively Utah.
Yeah, I felt trapped.
Miguel Sarabia has lived on the 3rd floor at Liberty Metro Apartments in downtown Salt Lake for the past 2 years. For more than a week, on and off, Sarabia, who is wheelchair-bound due to spina bifida, has dealt with a broken elevator in the apartment complex.
So Wednesday the 6th is when it went out. and then they didn't end up getting it fixed, and they didn't get fixed until the 11th.
He says it was working for a few days before breaking down once again on Wednesday. The issue has caused Sarabia to call out of work twice in just the past week.
It's been a hassle because I can't really get downstairs, you know, and I'd have to have my neighbors, if they're available, to help me down the stairs.
Luckily, his friend and neighbor, Richard Shaddis, has been there to lend a helping hand.
Just carry whatever they need. My friend uses a chair. So, and he, you know, to get up the steps, he uses his crutches, and I carry his chair.
The two have been friends since Sarabia moved in back in 2020. Shaddis says neighbors helping neighbors is just something they do here at this building.
I don't know anybody here that's not leaning on someone else for something else. Like, it is a community. It's just a reflex. It's not something you think about. You just do it because we're only here. Like, everybody's here just have a little quality in life, you know? And we don't have friends because we expect something. We are friends.
And it's friendships like that which Sarabia says he appreciates.
I'm thankful for the neighbors and friends that I have in this building.
Now, while this was an inconvenience for Sarabia, I did reach out to management at Liberty Metro Apartments earlier today, and they did tell me they were able to get the elevator back up and running. Something that is music to the ears of Sarabia.
I'm really happy, you know. Like, I'm actually going to go to work today, and I'm going to have a good day.
In downtown Salt Lake City, Chris Arnold, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Well, I'm tracking a cold front that is moving into Utah tonight, so we are going to have chance for some more rain this evening. Luckily got some soccer in. Nice weather for it. Just a little on the cooler side today and quite cloudy. This picture from Amber up in the Ogden area today. Beautiful view of the mountains. Now overnight tonight is when we're going to see our heaviest precipitation. We had a lot of clouds today. Spotty lighter precipitation so far, but we're going to see more widespread and organized rain and snow tonight. So we still have some snow coming down for Parley's Canyon up towards the Cottonwoods, but heaviest precipitation will be falling starting in a few hours around 11 o'clock or midnight. Temperatures right now here across the state, 54 for Salt Lake, 48 for Ogden right now. Temperatures in the mid to upper 50s for Provo. Cedar City, temperatures in the low 50s. St. George, 64 right now compared to this time 24 hours ago. It is noticeably warmer out there. Quite the difference, about 10 to 20 degrees warmer tonight than it was last night when we went to bed. And then our wind is really going to ramp up on Saturday. But first, let's talk about tomorrow, Friday, especially up towards the Uintas. And we look at the Uinta Basin. We're going to have some wind gusts tomorrow, close to 35 to 45 miles per hour. But let me show you Saturday, because I know that a lot of you will be traveling this weekend for Easter, or you're headed down maybe to St. George for a long weekend. Saturday is going to be really windy in the southern half of the state. It will be breezy at times for Utah County and up north of Salt Lake City at times, but mainly speaking, our gustiest conditions will be around I-70 and south. Saturday at 4 p.m., we're talking about wind 45 to 55 miles per hour. If you're camping this weekend for the holiday, that is some very tough conditions. We're going to have maybe even some travel impacts for high-profile vehicles. And today we had red flag warnings for the Moab area that expired at 8 o'clock today, but we do have fire weather watches for Saturday for the Moab area. So all things to keep in mind as you're making plans for this weekend. Not going to be the best camping weather, unfortunately. Now tomorrow morning in Salt Lake, it'll be around 40 degrees. Chances for rain early in the day tomorrow. So looking at 6 a.m., many of us close to 40 to 45 for Provo, Tooele, Salt Lake, Ogden. Heaviest precipitation will be midnight until about 6 a.m. Chance for some early rain tomorrow with highs in the mid-50s for Salt Lake. And those temperatures for much of the Wasatch Front, Provo, Eagle Mountain, Tooele, Ogden, all in the 50s tomorrow. 40s for the Cache Valley. And as we talked about Saturday, very windy conditions, 77 in St. George, 83 and sunny on Easter. Calmer. Wind picks up again next Tuesday for St. George with temperatures in the 80s next week. Here in Salt Lake, we're warming up close to 60 for Saturday and Sunday. Chance for some thunderstorms even Saturday night. Mostly sunny for Easter. Let's talk more about the timing of tonight's heaviest precipitation, snow levels, and how much snow you can expect here across northern Utah later in the hour.
Hopefully, we can send a message. This type of stuff's unacceptable.
Caught on camera, a string of vandalism in Spanish Fork. How you can help catch the people involved.
This is just really a baseline to say what's out there and what's missing.
It's the first of 5 new studies specifically focusing on women of color in Utah. We'll show you the findings regarding Pacific Islander women. Surveillance video from Spanish Fork shows what appears to be a young male using a skateboard to break a car window. Police say they have had 6 incidents like this within a few blocks of the city park. Officers are hoping for some leads.
We have a skate park, and our detectives are, like I say, working on it, trying to work through, as well with some of our school resource officers, trying to get information out there and attempt that maybe these kids will talk.
If the offenders are juveniles, they could be forced to pay restitution or serve community time. If they are older than 18, they could be charged with felonies. Results from a new series of studies are being released from the Utah Women and Leadership Project at Utah State University.
Now, the first one was released today. It focused on Pacific Islander women in Utah. A few of the areas of focus included education, healthcare, poverty, unemployment, and family makeup. For instance, household size among Pacific Islander women in Utah was found to be larger than other Pacific Islander groups in America, also larger than other women in Utah.
But more households led by women with no spouse present, about 19% compared to about 12% when you compare to all Utah women.
Pacific Islander women were also found to be less likely to have health insurance, have a personal doctor, or receive preventative care. Now, in education, it was found that Pacific Islander women were most likely to finish their education with only a high school degree. If you'd like to see the rest of the findings, go to fox13now.com.
A Utah uranium mill in the shadow of a native community.
These are our homelands for thousands of years.
Underneath the mill is showing signs of some serious pollution.
Fox 13's Nate Carlisle shares the concerns raised by the tribe.
It's affecting our health and our ecosystem.
As more radioactive materials arrive from overseas.
We don't want White Mesa to be the world's dumping ground.
Fox 13 investigates. Coming up next.
That's one thing I can't understand, how the government allows other countries to come in and utilize, make money off it, and then leave the mess behind for us to clean.
So the White Mesa Mill is really an important piece of critical infrastructure for the United States.
The source of the pollution should really be identified.
A Native American tribe and environmentalist in southeast Utah say the time is now to better regulate a local uranium mill or close it altogether.
Fox 13 News investigative reporter Nate Carlisle traveled to San Juan County to explain what's happening at the mill.
These are our homelands where my people lived and survived here for thousands of years.
Aldine Ketchum is a member of the Ute Mountain Ute tribe. He plays his people's traditional flute across the Southwest. His biggest gig was the opening ceremonies of the 2002 Winter Olympics, where athletes from across the world gathered in Utah. He's less pleased about something else coming to Utah.
That's one thing I can't understand, how the government allows other countries to come in and utilize, make money off it, and then leave the mess behind for us to clean.
The White Mesa Uranium Mill opened here in 1980. It's the only conventional uranium mill remaining in the United States. The mill has extended its life by accepting shipments from other radioactive sites as far away as Estonia and Japan. The mill's 65 workers extract the remaining uranium and other metals in the shipments. The federal government sees the mill as a uranium processing plant and does not regulate it as a toxic waste disposal site, which is how environmentalists and tribal members see it. They want the mill shut down and cleaned up. The byproducts sit next door to the Ute Mountain Ute Reservation and the community where Ketchum and about 300 others live, also called White Mesa.
The air here, it blows in different directions. In the nighttime, it shifts and blows more towards the White Mesa Ute community.
Radon is a cancer-causing gas.
Tim Peterson is the Cultural Landscapes Director at Grand Canyon Trust. It and another environmental group, EcoFlight,
Blending area traffic, citation 510 Bravo Echo, back taxiing on runway 17 blending.
recently took journalists into the air to show them the mill's tailing piles and retention ponds.
And then we saw cell 4B, the one on the southwest side, which is supposed to be fully submerged in water, but at this point is only about a quarter covered.
Water in the ponds reduces the spread of radon. In December, the Environmental Protection Agency notified the mill's owner that one partially filled pond was emitting about 10 times the amount of radon as a full pond.
Grand Canyon Trust's ultimate goal is to have the mill close and clean up.
The Utah Department of Environmental Quality notified the mill of radiation and water violations about 80 times from 1999 through 2020. Most of those infractions were minor and did not trigger penalties. The biggest fine, $62,500, wasn't even for polluting. It was for failing to obtain proper permitting and updating plans for construction at the mill.
So the White Mesa Mill is really an important piece of critical infrastructure for the United States.
Curtis Moore is the Vice President of Marketing and Corporate Development for the mill's owner, Colorado-based Energy Fuels.
Uranium is, of course, the fuel for nuclear energy, which provides about 20% of all electricity in the United States. We also recently began the production of rare earth elements. Electric vehicles is going to be a big driver of future rare earth production.
As for that pond with uranium tailings, Moore says the company is refilling it. The mill had thought the EPA approved less water to accommodate more mineral extraction.
Vanadium is another element on the periodic table. We had determined that we could recover vanadium out of that particular evaporation pond. But in order to do that, we'd have to draw the water levels down and expose some crystals.
The extraction process isn't necessarily efficient. Moore says the mill has extracted 6 million pounds of uranium out of 700 million pounds of material received from other facilities.
The main concern we have is the water.
Both the tribe and the mill agree there's a nitrate plume in a nearby aquifer.
The source of the pollution should really be identified.
White Mesa doesn't pump its drinking water from that aquifer, but residents fear contamination will spread into the San Juan River and eventually the Colorado River, which supplies water to millions of people downstream in Utah, Arizona, Nevada, and California.
Through our stringent groundwater monitoring program, there is no evidence of any potential impact to any groundwater in the region.
We feel there should be a new environmental assessment on the impacts in the present and the future.
Residents like Ketchum fear by the time those impacts are studied, he and his family will already be sickened and his tribe's ancestral lands poisoned.
The way we consider our sharing our culture is utilizing the landscape.
In White Mesa, Nate Carlisle, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Next Tuesday on Fox 13 News at 9, we'll explain why Native Americans are afraid to drink the water or continue their ancient gathering practices around the mill, despite assurances the environment is safe.
From tackling bullying to feminine hygiene and a big increase in public schools in our state, a lot of bills related to our children's schools were signed today. We're going to take a look at all of them when we come back.
The Red Rocks back in the NCAA Finals after a strong performance in the semifinals.
Today, Governor Spencer Cox held a ceremony to recognize a series of big education bills in our state.
That's right. They will impact your children's lives in several ways. Fox 13 News political reporter Ben Winslow has the story from Murray.
We have some bills that we love.
Governor Spencer Cox and Lieutenant Governor Deidre Henderson signed a series of education-related bills passed by the legislature. Lawmakers increased the amount of money going into public education this year.
And I'm so grateful that the legislature agreed with our budget, putting forward big education dollars to really help our students and our teachers and families.
428, unfortunately, was born out of tragedy.
Schools are now required to implement anti-bullying programs in a bill named after Izzy Tishner, a 10-year-old who died by suicide. The girl's mother joined Representative Sandra Hollins and the governor at the ceremony.
When we were at her daughter's service, I made a promise to her that I would work on this issue and that we will work on this together. And she has turned this tragedy, turned her daughter's name into triumph, and making sure that all of our kids are safe within the school system. Thank you.
Another big bill puts free period products in every Utah school, helping more than 337,000 girls across the state.
This is like a very simple, low-cost way to keep girls in class, to keep kids in classes.
The governor also signed bills to expand all-day kindergarten and early literacy programs across the state, expand language services in classrooms, and make it easier for refugee and immigrant students to enroll. One bill blocks Utah colleges and universities from taking money from the Chinese government for foreign language programs. Native American students can now wear tribal regalia at graduation.
So the eagle plumes are for like our family members who have passed on, and you want them to be with you.
Trinidad Cervantes and her aunt pushed for the law after she was prohibited from wearing beads and feathers at her high school graduation. They have cultural and religious significance.
And I said, something's got to be done.
I have a younger sister who's in high school, and I have younger cousins who also live in Utah, and then I have from the tribe, there's a bunch of younger, peers, and I want them to be able to express themselves and wear the tribal regalia.
Last week, the State Board of Education voted to fast-track $10 million in bonuses for educators who picked up extra work during COVID-19 and as a result of staffing shortages. In Murray, Ben Winslow, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Still ahead, the huge whale statue in one Salt Lake City neighborhood has been turning a lot of heads. But do most people like it or hate it? Fox 13 News is getting answers.
Well, it looks like the Mavericks will be without their big all-star for Game 1. Mike Conley tells us where the Jazz are heading into the playoffs. And the Red Rocks had another strong finish at Nationals. They even had one gymnast win an individual national championship today at the semifinals.
Just days into its debut, a gigantic whale sculpture is turning heads and drawing people to Salt Lake City's 9th and 9th neighborhood.
Gosh, you can't miss it. Fox 13 News reporter Eliana Sheriff shows us what kind of reception the public art piece is receiving.
I think it's beautiful. As long as they don't do camouflage, I'm good.
It's definitely been a bag of mixed reactions. A lot of people walking by are stopping to admire it, even take pictures with it. But some people driving by have had some not so nice things to say.
Somebody just said it's gross, and right there. And then right before you got here, somebody drove around and yelled it's a big mistake.
This massive whale sculpture is creating ripples of conversation.
The piece is called Out of the Blue. The neighborhood is kind of out of the blue for Utah.
People who work near the giant sculpture can testify. The blubberous mammal is creating a rubberneck roundabout.
There's been a ton of people coming down to see it, so I'd say it's definitely brought people to the area for sure.
Several people made 900 South and 1100 East a destination. They all wanted to see the life-size breaching humpback whale up close.
We came out to see the whale. I think it's progressive, forward-thinking. Mixed reactions are okay, but it's here. So learn to love it.
This is different, and it does make you stop and look at it and have an opinion.
I have to say, overall, I love that people are talking about it.
This local artist says he has mixed feelings about the behemoth statue.
My personal opinions, I think, are less important than just the fact that this is doing what art should do and getting people to talk, and hopefully civilly.
The sculpture is the work of artist Stephen Kessler, and artist Mike Murdoch painted the mural on the surface.
The fact that people are coming down and looking at anything And just taking a moment just to wonder, I think, is worth something.
Keep in mind, this sculpture will host different murals by different artists on a rotating basis. In Salt Lake City, Eliana Sheriff, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Utah's First Lady spent some time volunteering at the Hogle Zoo today. Abby Cox showed her green thumb by taking care of some of the plant life at the zoo. Looks like the giraffes got some of that plant life, maybe. It's all part of Abby's Show Up Utah initiative that aims to show how everyone can make a splash in their own community.
Well, the Utah Highway Patrol has a new graduate from their academy that has been a part, or who has been a part of the UHP family actually for decades. In an open letter, Trooper Zach Zessiger says since he was just a little boy on the left, he's looked up to his father on the right. Now he's Captain Zessiger, seeing seeing the life-saving efforts made by his father and other troopers, drove young Zach to do his best and finally become a trooper himself. He also encourages anyone who has considered a career in law enforcement to join the Utah Highway Patrol.
Great legacy there.
Oh, sure.
Hi, Allison.
Hello. I'm tracking a cold front that's moving in tonight. So speaking of driving, could see some slick spots mainly for our mountain passes at times. Overnight, it's going to be our heaviest precipitation. So right now it's still dry in downtown Salt Lake City. Here at the airport, 54 degrees in Salt Lake with our wind out of the north right now at 12 miles per hour. But we're going to see our heaviest precipitation starting in a few hours. Already starting to see some moderate rain along I-15 and I-84 up near the Idaho border, just north of Brigham City, over towards Howell, Snowville. As we look towards the Cache Valley, very cold temperatures tomorrow night for a freeze watch. But for this evening, some areas of some scattered drizzle this evening for the valleys. Snow levels going to be around 7,500 feet, potentially dropping down to about 6,000 feet. So we could see a wintry mix for our benches tonight. And then across the south, less wind than we had earlier today. So here's what I want you to know. Tomorrow morning, we're going to see a chance for some rain here in Salt Lake City. Could see a mixture for our benches with some snow. By noon and into the afternoon tomorrow, we'll see decreasing clouds and our temperatures into the 50s. So it will be pretty pleasant, but it's going to be below average by about 10 degrees. By 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, we'll be around 40 degrees for Provo, Tooele, Salt Lake, and Ogden. Temperatures into the 30s for Price, Eagle Mountain, Cache Valley, Evanston, Park City, Vernal. And then for Moab into the 40s tomorrow morning, same thing for St. George. So forecast at a glance here along the Wasatch Front. Salt Lake City 54 for a high tomorrow, Ogden 52, Provo 57, decreasing clouds, less of a chance for rain as we keep going through the day tomorrow. Cedar City 64, Richfield 63, St. George 77, and for eastern Utah. Moab 73 tomorrow, mostly sunny. Price 61, and for the Uinta Basin 60 degrees tomorrow, mostly sunny and vernal. So overnight tonight is when we're going to see our heaviest valley rain and mountain snowfall. We could see some slick driving conditions early tomorrow morning, especially along I-80 up through Evanston into Wyoming. But what we're going to be tracking for you tonight, Logan Canyon, same thing into first thing tomorrow morning. We're going to continue through 9 a.m. with some snow for the mountains, occasional winter driving conditions. Saturday afternoon, wind really ramps up here across the state. We see an even better chance for some thunderstorms to develop with some more widespread valley rain, mountain snowfall. And this is the night before Easter. So if you are planning on having a dinner party or a get-together or a barbecue or going to the park for a nice spring day, the weather will be a lot nicer for those Easter egg hunts on Sunday. So Sunday morning, we'll see the chance for some light snow up in the mountains, and then we're tracking some very warm temperatures. Our temperature outlook through the 24th of April keeps us very warm here out west. Windy for St. George Saturday and Tuesday. Very windy across the state on Saturday, especially across the south. Very nice for Easter in the 80s. Salt Lake close to 60 this weekend, 72 to start next week.
While the Dallas Mavericks have not ruled out Luka Doncic for Game 1 against the Jazz, it's being reported that the All-Star is expected to miss Saturday's game in Dallas with the left calf strain he suffered in the final game of the regular season. Mike Conley said today that after a regular season full of ups and downs, the Jazz are ready for the playoffs.
now that we've got our guys healthy, we've got our guys focused on, you know, the right things and not what's going on the outside. We're now able to lock ourselves in and just, you know, go after something that we all want. Coach has been on us, you know, all our coaches have been on us about coming in and shutting out everything and just working and being who we are. And the last really 2 weeks, we've played really good basketball. We're at a really high level. We had a couple good games against some good teams down the stretch, so we're excited about what we're going to.
Utah Gymnastics needed a dramatic finish at regionals to advance to their 46th straight national championship. Now they're back in the finals after a strong finish in the semifinals today. Utes got off to a great start on the floor, led by Grace McCallum. She scored a team-high 9.9375. The Utes were first after the first rotation. Utes were strong on the vault. Jaden Rucker sticks her landing and wins the individual national vault championship with a score of 9.9625, the best score of the semifinals. The Utes did fall behind top-ranked Oklahoma, but they came up big on the beam. Abby Paulson scored the first of three 9.9375s, along with Kara Eaker here and Miley O'Keefe. The Utes finished second in the 14 semifinal, a score of 197.7125. That's good enough to advance to the 14th final on Saturday.
You know, I felt like the first two events that they came out and they were just like on fire. We took a little dip on that bar rotation. I think they got more in the tank for Saturday, and then couldn't be proud of our beam team to lock it up like that. It was a total team effort. Super proud of them.
So you think your team is ready here? You think they're ready?
We're ready!
Jeff Junkins announced he is retiring as the BYU women's head basketball coach. Junkins led the Cougars to 691 winning percentage during his 21 years as the head coach, leading the Cougars to the NCAA tournament 10 times, reaching the Sweet 16 twice. He leaves with 556 wins, the most wins by a head coach in BYU basketball history for men or women. The Salt Lake Bees used the long ball to get their first home win of the season tonight. Matt Dice, Luis Rengifo, and Dylan Thomas all hit home runs as the Bees beat Las Vegas 5-4. We'll be right back.
It's out there and it's gone. High up on the bird.
Thanks for joining us for Fox 13 News at 9.
Stick around. Quickcast is next.